There's something quietly extraordinary about scrap wood. It isn't glamorous. It doesn't sparkle or shine. It doesn't come fresh from the mill, all pristine and polished. No, scrap wood has lived a life before it ever becomes art. It's the leftover, the jagged, the oddly cut. These are the remnants that most people sweep into a bin, toss aside, burn for heat, or forget entirely. But in the right hands, these scraps are like words waiting for a poet. They become part of something bigger, something beautiful, deliberate, and full of soul. In workshops around the world, there are creators who walk past the shiny, perfect boards and head straight for the pile of rejects. They see something in those rough edges and mismatched tones that others don't. A story. A possibility. They gather pieces one by one. A strip of walnut with a warped edge. A wedge of pine marked with knots. A stub of oak wide-grained and golden. These aren't mistakes. These are the paints on their palette. And then comes the vision, the geometric design. There's no randomness here. It might look abstract from afar, but it's anything but. Every triangle, every parallelogram, every diamond or chevron or zigzag is placed with careful intent. Geometry gives order to chaos. It takes these broken, mismatched fragments and arranges them into harmony. It says, even things that don't match can belong together, if you know how to fit them. The creator starts with a layout, sometimes sketched, sometimes just felt. They clear a space, lay down a board, and begin arranging the pieces. The sound of wood sliding across wood fills the air, a soft scrape, a click, a shuffle. Some pieces fit naturally, like they were waiting to find each other. Others need to be trimmed, recut, angled just right. It's not quick work. Hours pass. Light shifts. Dust settles. Still, they keep adjusting, keep rebalancing until the pattern feels alive. There's a kind of intimacy in this process. Fingers run along edges. Eyes squint to check alignment. A smell of sawdust, glue, and old wood fills the air. Time disappears. Outside, the world moves fast. Notifications, traffic, headlines. But in the shop, it moves slowly like honey. Every moment is about detail. Every cut matters. One misstep and the pattern breaks. But that's part of the thrill. The tension between precision and imperfection. And the beauty of using scrap is that it resists uniformity. No matter how perfect the layout, the materials themselves bring surprises. A piece might split. A grain pattern might clash. A knot might rise where it wasn't expected. But this is where the magic happens. The artist adapts. They shift the design. They incorporate the flaws. What could have ruined the piece becomes the thing that makes it unforgettable. Once the layout is right, the glue-up begins. It's not glamorous. It's slow, deliberate, and messy. Each piece is coated, pressed, aligned, and clamped. You can't rush this part. Wood needs time to bond. And while it sets, the creator waits, watching, checking angles, adjusting pressure. There's a quiet satisfaction in seeing it all come together, finally holding its shape. Then comes the sanding. A rough, uneven surface becomes smooth. Textures are leveled. Edges are softened. The artist works by feel as much as by sight, running hands along the surface, catching imperfections that the eye might miss. The transformation here is subtle but powerful. What looked like a jigsaw puzzle of garbage now starts to feel like something whole. Something intentional. Something with weight. The finish is where it all comes alive. Whether it's oil, stain, wax, or sealant, that first coat is like waking the wood up. Grain patterns darken and deepen. Contrast emerges. Pale woods pop next to darker tones. A stripe of cherry might glow red beside the earthy browns of walnut. Even humble pine, once pale and soft, can look golden, radiant under a simple finish. Every pattern tells a different story. Some are rigid and symmetrical, perfect diamonds, balanced chevrons, repeating arrows that march across the panel like an army of lines. Others are free-form, offset blocks, shifting triangles, asymmetrical grids that feel organic and improvised. Some pieces lean rustic with rough-cut edges and bold textures. Others feel modern, sleek, polished to near perfection. Some creators experiment with color, adding painted elements or tinted stains. A streak of blue cuts through a field of natural tones like a river. A patch of white softens the wood's warmth. Blackened sections bring drama, turning the piece into a high-contrast statement. And then there are the natural finishes, where no color is added at all, just the raw, honest beauty of the wood itself, presented like a landscape. Mounting the final piece on the wall changes the room. It doesn't just decorate, it transforms. A blank wall becomes a canvas. A dull space becomes a conversation. And there's something grounding about having wood on the wall. It reminds us of forests, of cabins, of something slower and older than the modern world. It brings warmth to cold interiors. It breaks up sterile lines with something organic, tactile, real. Even the shadows the art casts throughout the day become part of its personality. Morning light brings out one side. Evening shadows deepen the contrast. Under a spotlight, the grain shimmers. And in low light, the pattern softens, becomes subtle, like a secret hidden in plain sight. Every piece is unrepeatable. Even if the artist tries to copy the design, the wood changes. No two boards are the same. No two knots fall in the same place. That unpredictability is part of the appeal. It's art made in cooperation with nature, not against it. The creator does the cutting, arranging, and finishing, but the wood brings its own voice to the process. And there's something deeply satisfying about knowing that this beauty came from waste, from cast-offs, from things once deemed useless. It's a quiet rebellion against throwaway culture. A reminder that value isn't always found in the new, the polished, the perfect. Sometimes, it's the broken things, the discarded things, that carry the most character. Scrap-Wood-Geometric wall art isn't just about aesthetics. It's about rhythm, texture, story. It's about seeing potential in the overlooked. It's about the power of transformation, not with expensive tools or exotic materials, but with patience, skill, and vision. It tells us that art doesn't need to be loud or grand to be powerful. Sometimes it just needs to be honest. And maybe that's what makes these pieces so captivating. They're not trying to impress. They're not chasing trends. They're just made with care. Built slowly. Finished by hand. Designed to last. They don't need to speak loudly to be heard. They just hang on the wall, quiet and steady, whispering something timeless. Not perfect, but real. Scrap-Wood-Geometric wall art isn't just about design, it's about transformation. It's about taking what was once overlooked, discarded, or forgotten, and turning it into something striking. Something with structure, balance, rhythm. It's the act of giving new life to old wood and allowing geometry, lines, angles, symmetry, contrast, to bring order and elegance to the chaos. At its core, this kind of art celebrates contrast. The old and the new. The organic and the measured. Rough edges meeting sharp lines. Faded finishes set against bold patterns. That's where the magic is, not in perfection but in how each piece of wood becomes a part of something larger. Individually they're scraps. Together they're a visual composition that tells a story. And what makes geometric wall art from scrap wood so compelling is the intention behind it. Every triangle, every chevron, every staggered block has to work with the others. The alignment matters. The negative space matters. And yet there's room for spontaneity, for improvisation, for letting the materials guide the final form. You start with leftover cuts, bits from past projects, or even found wood from old furniture, and you build from there. It's not just resourceful. It's expressive. No two pieces will ever be the same. That's the beauty of working with scrap. Each board carries its own history, paint flecks, nail holes, saw marks, weathered edges. These aren't flaws to be hidden, they're textures to be featured. They add depth. They add authenticity. And when arranged thoughtfully into a geometric pattern, they create something that feels both intentional and instinctual. The act of building this kind of art also has a rhythm. It's hands-on, tactile. You're cutting, sanding, arranging, stepping back, adjusting. It becomes almost meditative. You're not rushing to a finish line, you're composing. Layer by layer. Piece by piece. Finding the right angles, the right balance, the right grain contrast. And with every step, the wall art becomes more than just decoration. It becomes a reflection of time spent, choices made, and material honored. Once finished, scrap-wood geometric art transforms a wall completely. It can be bold and high contrast or subtle and tonal. It can blend with rustic interiors, add warmth to modern spaces, or bring handcrafted character to minimalist rooms. You can keep it small and framed or go large, covering a wall panel with striking symmetry and texture. The versatility is endless. But perhaps what makes this kind of art so meaningful is its quiet defiance of waste. It says, this wood still has value, still has beauty, still has purpose. In a world where so much is thrown away, where design is often about buying new and replacing the old, This kind of work stands as a reminder that creativity doesn't depend on new materials. It depends on vision. And in that vision, scrap wood becomes more than just leftover lumber. It becomes a canvas, a pattern, a feeling, a statement. It's a way to slow down, to be hands-on, to create something grounded and real. Something that hangs on your wall not just as decoration, but as proof that design can be both beautiful and responsible. So whether you're an artist, a builder, or just someone who hates to see good wood go to waste, remember this. A pile of scraps isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning. All it takes is a pattern, a little patience, and a willingness to see not what the wood was, but what it can become. And when it finally comes together, line by line, angle by angle, it doesn't just hang on a wall. It speaks. It invites. It endures.